Afghanistan. And it's called Words from War because when the artist was talking about this, veterans would come up with the same words about combat or survive or freedom or duty or honor. So the artist captured those words to put on these walls. In a military compound, they put these walls around called blast walls to protect the troops inside. And so these are a little bit miniature, but these are going to be blast walls. So the veterans of these conflicts will recognize these blast walls. So it's, the reason it's here instead of on Memorial Island is it'll be big. And also this is the art museum because this is an art project as well as a veterans project. So it's kind of some people say, why isn't it on the island? Well, it'll be a giant monument. So it'll benefit because this artist is kind of a famous artist, so he's donating his art talent to honor veterans.
What has he done? I'm not familiar with him.
He did things mostly in Miami and Fort Lauderdale, but big pieces that are like public art, not like paintings and such. So this is Veterans Memorial Island Sanctuary. And sanctuary is the same dignity and decorum as a cemetery. Nobody is buried here, but it has that same feeling of like Arlington Cemetery. So it's not a park. It's not a, there's no, you can see the sign, there's no picnicking or no alcohol or nothing because it's a sanctuary. Now Memorial Day, which is Monday, I hope some of you can come. There's these items back here to hold the flags of the 5 branches of the service, which of course is the Army, the Navy, the Air Force, the Marine Corps, and the Coast Guard. The 5, of course, that's the Pentagon, 5 sides. And so on Memorial Day and Veterans Day, there will be flags here, which is more colorful and beautiful. As I mentioned, it's not a park or not a place, so it should be for quiet contemplation, not for picnicking and beer drinking, and so because of that, it's a little bit unusual. There's no alcohol or skateboarding or picnicking, no bands except for patriotic bands, like for the high school band will be here for Memorial Day and Veterans Day.
And there's no weddings here either, is there?
No, there used to be, and it's tempting. Even with a bicycle, it's tempting. Oh, I want to go on there, but because it's there's, and I'll show you in a few minutes, there's cenotaphs, and I had to look that word up myself when I moved here, but there's markers where we honor those that died in the service of our country. Nobody is buried there, but there's a marker to memorialize those people.
They were from this area.
Yeah, and from World War I all the way till, we're going to dedicate 2 new ones Monday. And then this was originally a spoil island, meaning that it was basically just like this. It was just mangroves and no real solid land. It was like that. So years ago, a hero of World War I and World War II, that was the mayor of Vero Beach, he got the state when they cleaned the channel for the river to bring the dirt and put it here. And so it kind of grew from just mangroves, it grew into an island. And then of course we had to build this little bridge or causeway. So let's walk the causeway. Alex McWilliams was the veteran, the hero of World War I and World War II, who became the mayor of the city, who decided to do this. And in fact, this is a monument that Alex McWilliams created. Lest we forget the memory of those who paid the supreme sacrifice in all wars in defense of our country. So Memorial Island is dedicated to those that lost their lives defending our country. So this monument here, you'll notice on your map, is a monument to Alex McWilliams. And his family still lives here and is very successful real estate people and do many things in the community besides these things. World War II had ended for 50 years. But imagine, now I was a Vietnam veteran, I went to war, I was in infantry, so I saw real combat, and even Afghanistan and Iraq. But imagine the World War II veterans, they saved the world, and so we really, and there aren't many left, so if you know them, love them and honor them and respect them. So this I think is too small, but for that purpose. About the 5 branches, which is the Pentagon, 5 sides. So that's the Army, the Navy, Air Force, the Coast Guard, and the Marine Corps. So that's the reason for this shape and this, although it's kind of short, but this shape is popular in art. Even the Washington Monument and other times you see this shape, but this black granite. I came out when we dedicated, they had a crane holding, and I said, I hope they don't drop it. So that's a fairly new addition.
What years were you in Vietnam?
68, 69, and 7.
So you were there for the Tet Offensive?
Well, they had a Tet. Tet is their New Year, so there's a Tet every year, but the big one is 1968. So I was the replacement for those that got killed in the Tet. But my unit was at Hue City in the Battle of Tet. And then, so I was there just after that. But each year they had a Tet Offensive. So around the island is
There's that drone again.
I hear the drone again. So now there's, we were talking about the branches of the service. So there's around the island these markers or little small monuments to, this is to the Army, and sometimes Army veterans can sit here and have quiet contemplation or meditation or remember their service or remember those that were maybe lost. So what a beautiful spot it is too. So when one of those hurricanes, all of these benches were washed away and it was a mess, so it's really come back pretty nicely now. So we'll go to the next one. So this is dedicated to Vietnam veterans. If we had our Vietnamese friend here, she would recognize the colors probably of the Vietnam flag at that time. It's changed now, of course. And then this is a Vietnam campaign ribbon. When you see military veterans that have their ribbons, and this represents campaigns that they were in. Some went for a few months, and some went for a few years. Sad to say, some of them got shot early and didn't stay. But so that would be unusual to see a veteran with Vietnamese campaign ribbon that had 4 campaigns. If you look closely, this is bamboo with a dragon in the background. A lot of us Vietnam veterans think that's kind of cool, the dragon in the stand of bamboo. And that's the Vietnam service. When you see a medal on a military dress uniform that has the colored ribbon and then the medal hanging below it, this is the actual medal for the Vietnam service, so it's appropriate. And then again, the 5 branches. And here is listed those that were from this area that were killed in Vietnam. And this is in memory of, at that time when it was dedicated, 58,232 of our troops were killed in Vietnam in that 10-year period. Now the monument out front is dedicated, the one that we looked at Afghanistan and Iraq. They've lost about 7,000. Of course, one is too many and sad, but if you compare 7,000 to 58,000, then when you imagine World War II was millions, and one reason we have this monument to those that gave that. All of these monuments are kind of small, rather than, like, we don't want to have a big monument with a general on a white horse holding up a sword, you know, although that might be appropriate some places. But, so we'll continue. Air Force, the newest branch of the service of our military, of course. The Marine Corps started 1 year before the country, actually. And the Marines are part of the Navy, or the Navy branch of the service. In the old days, when you had a Navy ship pull up and somebody had to swing over to the other ship, those were the Marines. Or in the rigging, they call it, up where the sails were, then they had sharpshooters or snipers, so that was Marines' jobs, either shooting from the rigging or to swing over to or project force into the land or onto other ships. Well, of course, we didn't have airplanes, so we didn't have an Air Force. So after World War II, it became the Army Air Corps, part of the Army, and then it became the United States Air Force. So it started in 1949. Before they brought in all the fill dirt and everything, it looked like that. It was just kind of a wild growth of whatever grew on the island by itself. So it took a long time to clear and prepare it like this. Now, this is the United States Marine Corps, which I was a Marine. I was in the 1st Battalion, 1st Regiment, 1st Division, or 1-1 it's called in Vietnam. And of course the Marines are the best one.
My mother was in the Marines. People can't believe it, back in 1950. Yes.
Oh yeah, women Marines were.
Yes.
Yeah, they were tough.
And my birthday is the birthday of the Marine Corps. That's right.
So we continue. So this is the monument to honor the veterans of the Korean War, and some call it the Forgotten War. We talked about in Vietnam about 58,000 people died in 10 or 11 years, and this one about 58,000 died in just 3 years. Sometimes it's sad to think, but it's the way it goes, but we think about our troops that were lost and killed, but on the other side, of course, you know, they were the enemy. In Vietnam, they estimate 1 million combatants and non-combatants killed. So anyway, this is dedicated to the Korean War veterans, and they're getting older. I guess we're all getting older. When I was in Vietnam, when I went to Vietnam, I was 18. By the time I was 19, I was a corporal. By the time I was 20, I was a sergeant in the Marine Corps at 20. Now, sometimes 20-year-olds can't clean up their bedroom, right? The Coast Guard, we think of them as guarding our coast, but also the Coast Guard is deployed in other parts of the world as well. I have I own a jewelry store, And I also own a karate school. And the young lady that's a goldsmith and diamond setter that works for me, her son is in the Coast Guard now, serving.
Where is your jewelry store?
It's on Beachland Boulevard, which is the road there, and almost to A1A, before A1A. It's John Michael Matthews Fine Jewelry.
I've heard of it, sure.
And I'm John.
And do you make jewelry?
Yeah, before I went in the Marine Corps, that's what I did. I was an apprentice to a Norwegian master jeweler. And then before I went in the Marine Corps, I worked in Miami in the Seabold building. They have a building there that's a lot of jewelers. And then when I got out of the Marine Corps, I worked in Coral Gables, and the master jeweler was from France, from Paris, and he was a real jeweler. And then, so I just got lucky. Now, how do you be a jeweler now? You can't really, even if you go to art school, but then they're hammering out a silver bowl or something. They're not working with diamonds and gold and platinums. But that was a long time ago. Now my boy Victoria is the goldsmith. This one is a little bit different because it's the Department of Defense. And most people would think, well, we already had Department of Defense. We already had Army, Navy, Air Force, Marine Corps. Why the Department of Defense? Well, for example, if they were a CIA operative or if they worked for the State Department, other parts of our government are exposed to hazardous duty. So this would be to honor those that were CIA or State Department or well, there's a bunch of three-letter CIA, NSA, DEA, whatever. I don't know how many three-letter agencies there are, but this is to honor those. So. Now, if somebody is wounded in combat by an enemy, now not wounded if he, wrecks his Jeep, but wounded by enemy fire, then they're awarded the Purple Heart. And this started by George Washington is the reason his picture is on there. So it shows it's an award. Of course, it's an award you don't want to get. You're not supposed to get shot, right? But they do. So this, and then someone said, well, I thought this was for those that died. Well, of course, if you're wounded and you die, you also get a Purple Heart. So it includes those that were wounded and survived, as well as those that were wounded and did not survive. But it's appropriate because the Purple Heart, the red granite represents the red blood that one would. The unit that I was with, the 1st Battalion, 1st Regiment, we had 567 Marines killed at the time that we were there. So it's a lot. But when you think, well, that many killed, but thousands got wounded. And again, sad to think about it. I'm not sure how many the other side was killed, but more. Pearl Harbor. Pearl Harbor started the Second World War when the Japanese bombed Pearl Harbor. Then we began the Second World War. There was probably some beginning. When I first moved here, all of these guys were alive when I first moved here. We had meetings with the Pearl Harbor survivors, and we got a Marine general to come down and speak to the group for Pearl Harbor Day. So it's nice that they're memorialized, and actually they were memorialized before. Now we have an ordinance, which an ordinance is a local law. A statute would be a state law, so an ordinance is a local law. So now we have a local law that doesn't allow individual names except on those monuments. So it's these, we're all lucky to get their name memorialized, so they'll be here forever as long as we have a country. But the sad thing is they've all passed on and are no longer with us. uniform for veterans sometimes looks a lot like the active duty uniform. The uniform for Pearl Harbor survivors were white trousers and Hawaiian shirts. They had Hawaiian shirts and then some kind of hat, which was kind of appropriate. The law about flags is if it flies at night, it should be lit. So these are giant lights that shine on the flag at night, and you can see the bridge from this north bridge, and you can see the south bridge, not so easy, but from both bridges you can see the flag. Now, the only time the flag comes down is if the country has lost a significant person, it would be down, and then Monday, which is Memorial Day, we'll lower the flag to half-mast, it'll come halfway down at 8 o'clock, and it'll stay there until noon, and then at noon it'll go back up again. Now, if the flag was down and we were going to begin the service, then we would connect the flag, we would crank it all the way up, and then back down slowly to half-mast. But since it's already flying, at 8 o'clock in the morning, I will lower it down to halfway, and it'll stay there during our services. Okay, right now, these are called cenotaphs. Kind of an unusual word. Even when I moved here, I had to look it up. But they're to memorialize and remember, but nobody is buried here. And in fact, we don't allow ashes. Sometimes when people die and cremated, they want to have their ashes spread. But because some religions wouldn't be able to come on, they don't believe in that, we don't allow ashes on the island. Now, many times the ashes are spread from the bridge or cast out into the water from the island, but not on the island. And then the Gold Star. Gold Star means that a family member was killed in combat. If you see on the decals on a car or something a blue star, that means their family is serving in the military and is deployed or serving. The Gold Star family means that one has been killed. So Monday, when we have Memorial Day service, by the way, I think everybody knows Memorial Day is the day we honor those that died in the service of our country. Veterans Day is more of a celebration to honor all veterans that are alive in the season. But so the Gold Star Grove now are these buttonwood trees that are recently planted. So these have the name of the service members that died, and Monday we'll have their families will be here to dedicate those. Before the service, we'll cover them with black, like a pillowcase, and then at the right time we'll pull them off. And I'll tell you a little bit more. We'll get up in the shade, but I'll tell you a little bit more about that. But this is the 80 people, 80 servicemen, 20 of them from Vietnam in my time. On Monday they'll have flowers. They'll have these will be unscrewed and little flags put on them and flowers, so it'll be much more colorful. Inside your program, on the left side, this is all of the veterans organizations that are represented in the county. Now, not all of them have color guards. Some of them are older and such. The president of the Veterans Council and his staff is here on the top left. That's who's actually putting on the ceremony, is the Veterans Council. But the community will be here, so the veterans will be over there. There'll be a stage up there with all of the speaker. We have a general, lieutenant general. Lieutenant general means he's got 3 stars, and they're pretty important guys, you know, 3 stars. Generals all have been to charm school, so they're always quite charming and nice. And then let's go back to the cover for a minute. The cover are representing, in this latest conflict in Iraq and Afghanistan, we have, get my glasses off here, we have almost 7,000, I think I'm a jeweler, I could do this, huh? So we have almost 7,000 troops that have been killed since 9/11. So those boots each boot represents 24 people. So a pair of boots represents 50 people. So this will all be covered with those boots to honor those and remember those. And then you can barely see it, but in the back there's a helmet, a military helmet. And so that's a rifle with a bayonet, a knife on the end of the rifle stuck in the ground with a helmet on top, and they call it a battle cross. So it kind of to remember those that died in the service. So that'll be part of the that display. So nobody will walk in that grass. It'll be just for the boots and the flags and the battle cross. So again, if you come Monday, if you came early, the high school band will be playing music. The crowd will be swelling. Veterans will be reuniting with each other. Family members that are remembering their loved ones will be here. So it's colorful and patriotic and a little Americana, I guess we could call it. So then on the right side is actually the ceremony, and the ceremony has what we call all of the sights and the sounds and the symbols that would be traditional. So the parade marshal is Colonel Young, and then the parade adjutant. So in parade ceremonies, it's traditional for one commander to say the word, and then he relays it to the other person and relays it to the other person. It was used in the battlefields in the old days to relay commands to the other units. Now we got radios, we don't do it anymore, but that's why we would have parade marshal and then parade adjutant. Of course, I talked about boots on the ground and the national anthem and the Pledge of Allegiance. Another thing that's maybe to think about, those that don't get here early, it's not appropriate to be moving when the flag is being moved or when we're doing the Pledge of Allegiance. So when that happens, people have to stop where they are until it's done. So if you are going to come, try and get here before so that you're not stuck on the bridge or whatever. And then the tribute to the fallen, we're going to have on the stage 10 family members that are family members of all of those that are in the Gold Star Grove. So we will introduce them. And then the patriotic medley is all of the old kind of American tunes of John Philip Sousa, the march music and such will be played. And then where it says bagpipes, ship's bell, and placing of the wreath, we have an Army Staff Sergeant, a veteran of the Iraq War. He will take the wreath. The wreath is a wreath of flowers, and he'll move the wreath. And this is really a slow kind of, almost like a wedding march. Not wedding, well, but slow anyway.
Funeral.
But yeah, and so the wreath will move up to here, and he'll stop for a moment. The bagpipes will be playing like Amazing Grace or some appropriate music. And then we'll have 10 more family members here that will get in 5, 2, and then the bagpipes together. And then they're going to move up to the middle of the Cenotaph Square, and the families will go to their loved one's marker. When the bagpipe stops, then they'll take the cover off of those, and that's the dedication of those. So now you guys see them, but when they arrive Monday, they'll be covered, so you're in beforehand. So when they place the wreath, the sergeant will place the wreath, and then he steps back 2 steps, and he'll do a slow cadence hand salute to the wreath. The bagpipes will stop. And then we have up there the ship's bell, which is for Navy and Marines, but they'll ring the ship's bell. And then the last one, or the next one, is the Dolls. And they do this kind of World War II kind of music. Some of it is, you probably won't do the Boogie Woogie Bugle Boy, but you know, that old kind of World War II music. And then the keynote speaker. So there's a lot of things happen before we even get to the general who's going to do the talk. And the general was he went to West Point as a young Army officer, but his last assignment was actually the commandant of West Point, our military academy. And then we were talking about the prayer. Then the closing prayer is, the opening prayer is invocation, closing prayer is benediction, and then the rifle salute. Some people call it a 21-gun salute. but actually guns are cannons, so it's really a rifle volley. There'll be 7 people that fire 3 times. 3 times 7 is 21. Anybody know why we do 21?
No.
Let me see if I can remember. I think if you total up 1776, somebody good at math, what's 1776? So 1 and 7 is 8, 7 and 6 is 13, and 6 is 21, right? So 1776, why is that important?
Independence.
1776 is when the United States got its independence. So the year 1776, if you add up the numbers, they become 21. And so that's, some people say that's why we do a 21 gun salute. Sounds good, I'm not sure, but
We'll take it.
and then taps. Taps is the slow bugle call that usually is to honor a fallen soldier or Marine or sailor. And then the closing is the pass and review. So all of these color guards that are over here, all the flags and rifles and veterans, then will go and pass in front of the general, and then they'll go out and conclude the ceremony. And it's sad that we have wars and that we have to honor them, but I remember when I went to Parris Island, which is where Marines go for training, one of the things that the drill instructor said was, if you die, we will remember you forever. I don't know what comfort that was, but that's what we do. We're going to remember them forever. So.
Thank you very much.